Nicole Austin-Hillery. Welcome to Let's Talk, Nicole.
Good afternoon, Denise, and thank you so much for having me on and giving us an opportunity to talk about this year's ALC. And congratulations to you and the Informer on your upcoming anniversary. It is amazing, and I'm just so proud to be a part and have CBCF be a part of that amazing history.
Yeah, if I really think back, Nicole, I mean, I've been getting all these LinkedIn messages, folks congratulating me on my 44 years, and I'm thinking, really?
Where does
But
it
then
go?
I know when I think back, I was here when my dad started it. So
Yes, yes.
and I don't have pieces of the cover of the first Congressional Black Caucus issue that we
Oh, wow.
did
Oh, wow.
when there were 13 members.
Oh, I need to see that, Denise. We have to
Yeah,
figure out how I can.
yeah, I don't have the paper itself, but we had a graphic designer who did all of the faces of all the CBCF members. And yeah, I'll take a picture of that and send it to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. That
Yeah,
would be an honor to
yeah.
see that.
And so, I mean, this is when we say 50, 53 years?
53rd.
Yeah, it lets you know how 52 years, how far back we've gone, or how far we've come. And now you're at the helm. And tell us a little bit about the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and what your role is there.
So the foundation was actually started by those original members, Denise, of the Congressional Black Caucus. And it was founded in 1976. So we are preparing now to celebrate our 50th anniversary in 2026, which is right around the corner. And it was started by those members because they were smart, they were prescient. They said there were two things that were missing at that point. Number one, they realized there was no pipeline to develop Black leadership that existed. We all know that even to this day, that one of the ways that you get into a career in policy and legislation and as an elected official is by having an internship. And they realized that often the people who had access to internships were those who were privileged, privileged in terms of finances, privileged in terms of their parents and family access to power. And they said, but that's a problem because for those young people who don't have that same access, they are left out of those opportunities. And how, therefore, can they build their pathways to leadership? And so they said, we need to create a foundation that's going to allow those individuals to be supported and have those opportunities given to them. They secondly realized that we did not at that time have a Black think tank. This was before the creation of the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, which is the nation's premier Black think tank. But we didn't have that then. And so we didn't have a place to go as a Black policy community where we could say, these are the priorities for the Black community. What's the research? What's the data that we need to ensure that our communities have the information they need to make really smart, effective policy decisions for the community? And that was the genesis for the creation of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Our mission is simply this, Denise. It is to empower the global Black community. And we do that through our Leadership Institute, which now is a huge part of the organization. And we put more Black interns on Capitol Hill than any other organization. We have a tremendous fellowship program for postdoctoral students and professionals, doctors, lawyers. They come and they serve as fellows at the foundation, where they spend half their time on Capitol Hill in a member's office or with a committee, and the other half of their time at the foundation doing critical research around those issues that we know gravely impact our community, such as health disparities, education, infrastructure, transportation. And then we are a public education tool. We make sure that the data that we pull, the research that we do, is something that we take out to the community so that communities have access to information and can be empowered to lead and make decisions for themselves. So we do things such as community conversations where we go to different parts of the country with our CBC members, and we spend a whole day with the grassroots advocates, with the local electeds, with the community leaders, talking and problem solving about the issues that are of great importance to that particular community. So that's who we are and what we do. And I'm so proud to be in this position. I consider it a privilege, Denise. I spent my whole career as a civil and human rights lawyer, and my goal in life from the time I was 13 years old was to use my gifts as a leader to impact for the greater good, the Black community. And my dream was always to be able to lead a Black-centered organization, because I love Black folk. I love the Black community. That's what I grew up in. I say that to people unabashedly. It's not that I don't love other people, I do. But I feel that because of who I am, the gifts I've been given in life, and the community in which I grew up, that I have an obligation and a duty to do what I can to empower the Black community. And so that's why I'm here. And that's what we do every day, Denise. And the ALC is the pinnacle of that years-long work that we do. It is a time for us to come together, to problem solve, to talk about the issues that are plaguing our community, and to talk about how we move forward as a community when it comes to policy and legislation.
You know, I'm just like filled with pride, Nicole, because you've touched on so many things that if people are really listening to the pieces of what you've outlined here, you can see you can't feel anything but pride. Number one, when we look at where we are in this presidential election, and going back those 50 some years, when we talk about Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, you know, who was the first of Black women to take that. And if people haven't read her book or seen the films about her ascendance and how and what happened, something they need to take a look at. When we look at all of those members of Congress and how they didn't have the opportunity to get the training that you're giving to future leaders, that the CBCF is giving, you know, when you hear what you all are doing, it gives you a sense of security to know that folks are being trained and getting the experience. And, you know, and also the fact that there was one other point I was going to make, and of course I've lost it already. I'm sorry about that. I know. But, you know, it's just all of those things that I think are so critical. Oh, that was it. That, you know, a lot of people don't know what legislators are supposed to do.
Yes.
And the whole political education that our community needs, we haven't gotten it yet. And so a lot of people think, you know, when folks get elected to office from the local, state, county, whatever, all the way congressional, that part of their job is giving out turkeys, you know, backpacks, back to school stuff, whatever. But legislation and policy is what we have to be focused on, and what impacts our lives.
Exactly.
And that's what, you know, the CBCF is doing. And I'm sure when people, those fellows come to you, you probably have to explain a lot of that to them. Is that the case? Do they also come in kind of trying to understand, this is a road that I want to take, but what does it mean?
Well, it's a mix, Denise. So many of them, they remind me of myself, you know, as a younger person who wanted to get into policy. They're people who grew up living and breathing and loving these things. You know, I was one of those weirdos who did Model UN in high school. You know, I did student council. I was the class vice president. So, you know, so many of them were young people in their early years who were engaged around policy and understanding systems of leadership and government. So they come in the door with that. But we also want to make sure that they know exactly how it runs, how Washington runs, how state legislatures run. And we make sure they have professional development. We have something called the Professional Development Series for our interns and fellows, where every week they meet with professionals, whether they be legislators, whether they be policy advocates, consultants, you name it, corporate officials, so that they can understand how the wheels of government and policy formation work. Because we want to make sure when they leave the CBCF doors, they are fully prepared, aware, and informed about how this work is done. You know, I'm always saying, Denise, I wish we had civics back in our educational systems in this country.
Definitely.
That is, whenever people talk to me, you know, I spent a lot of my career working on voting rights. And then whenever people talk to me about what's the problem, Nicole, with voting rights, I say to them, the issue is not just around voting rights and suppression. The bigger issue we have is around engagement. And we have to return to civics in schools so that people understand how these systems work, because it's what helps to empower us all.
Well, I mean, you said it. Now we just have to do it. We have to put some action behind that, because I think a lot of folks agree with you that civic education, not only just for Black, but all of America,
all of us,
you know,
exactly.
If we're talking about, you know, democracy, saving democracy and what have you. But let's talk a little bit about next week. the annual legislative conference. Again, I mean, a lot of people know the history of that, but why is this? What's going to happen, and why is this significant, and who should be there?
Yes, and Denise, what we were just talking about is related to this, because the conference is about bringing everyone together from all walks of life to have a frontline access and experience to policy and to policy makers.
Right.
It is, again, we are the largest Black public policy conference focused on these issues in Washington that happens every year. People can come and take advantage of and have access to over 100 policy sessions and brain trusts. And they will run the gamut, and they focus on those issues that are legislative priorities for the members of the Congressional Black Caucus. So you're going to see sessions on health disparities, maternal health. You're going to see sessions on artificial intelligence and how that's impacting the Black community, the emergence of artificial intelligence. You're going to see sessions around infrastructure and transportation, around educational equity, around how some of the recent Supreme Court decisions on affirmative action are impacting the Black community, and everything in between. So that's why it's important for people to be in the room. You can't, for this one-stop shop and setting, get all of that under one roof anywhere else. And you're also, in addition to having access to those sessions where we're not just going to lay out the issues, but we're going to talk about problem solving. I tell people all the time, Denise, I don't like conferences where we just get together and we look beautiful, and we do look beautiful, because Black folks, we look beautiful when we get together. Everybody better come correct. We're going to look beautiful. But it's not just about that. It's also about, what are you walking away with? What are the takeaways? What can you take back to your own community? Whether you come from Kansas, whether you come from California, Delaware, or right up the street in Maryland or Virginia, what can you take away so that you are being a change maker in your own community? It's also about helping to empower folks so that they understand it's not just about your electeds and what they do. It's about what we as citizens have the opportunity to do in our own communities. So those are the dots that we connect at ALC. And then, of course, Denise says it's also about our culture. Our
Right.
culture is a huge part of what we do as a people. It undergirds us, it strengthens us, and in fact, it's part of what fuels us so that we can fight those big fights around policy and advocacy that we're called on to fight each and every day. So there will be receptions. There will be, different opportunities to break bread. We have the kickoff to our exhibit hall, where you'll be able to meet vendors and other people who are doing things in and around the Black community, Black merchants who are empowering our communities in terms of economics. So
And we will be there as well
Yes.
on Media Row. So, folks can come by and check us out.
So this is the place where people need to be, where you can get access to all of that. And it is a registration. You can go to our website, cbcfinc.org, to register. We're in the late registration period, but it's still possible. But you can also register on site. And for those people who cannot afford, or for various reasons, it's a problem for them to pay the registration fee, we have options available, because we want to break down all barriers, Denise. We don't want there to be any impediment to any member of the community participating in the annual legislative conference, because it is for everyone and it is about everyone.
The beautiful thing I've seen over the years, Nicole, is some of the schools that have brought, high school students or middle school students to the event. I know it's a pretty much adult only event, but it is an opportunity to where we can grow future policymakers. And so I've seen classrooms of students. Is that available? Are you all doing that again this year?
It is available, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Denise. Our Leadership Institute, which I talked about earlier, which is the part of CBCF that oversees all of our fellowships, internships, scholarship programs, they have their own track. So, when you go to register, you'll see options for the different kinds of sessions. Like if you want to look at health issues, it'll help you to really narrow down your focus. But our Leadership Institute has a track for young people, for young professionals, where they will get to get information on career development. We have a session where they will have an opportunity to meet other young professionals who will talk about their own journeys. I'm really happy to call out Kemba Smith, who many of us know about her journey through the criminal justice system, but who came out on top and is doing amazing things right now. Kemba will be one of the young professionals that will be talking to those who sign up for our Leadership Institute track about life's journeys and how you can move forward as a professional and be successful, even when you run into trials and tribulations. So yes, we have that particular segment and those offerings geared towards the young people and young professionals so that they too can access things that are particularly focused on their needs during ALC.
So let's just focus in on some real specifics. This is the caucus kicks off next Wednesday,
Yes.
September the 11th, correct? And
Correct.
what else do folks need to know?
September 11th through the 15th is the annual legislative caucus conference. I'm sorry. And again, each and every day, there will be new and different offerings. When you sign up and you register, there will be a bevy of things that you will have access to as part of your registration. You will have access to the reception for our seat that honors our CBCF chair and our board of directors. You will have access to the exhibit hall. You will have access to opening day and the kickoff and the ribbon cutting and the luncheon that we will have for all of our guests. So there's so much that you will have access to. And then, of course, there are ticketed events that you will be able to see when you look at the schedule. Now, I'm just going to tell everybody, I'm always going to be transparent, Denise, and upfront.
Okay.
Pretty much everything is sold out. We have our day of healing on Saturday morning, and that Saturday, as everyone knows, is really our premier day for some of those cultural events. We start off the day with praise and joy, and it used to be called our prayer breakfast, but is now called Day of Healing. We have that on Saturday morning, and we have our annual Phoenix Awards dinner on Saturday night, where we will give out our annual Phoenix Awards to those members of the community who are breaking barriers and doing some amazing things. Those tickets are pretty much sold out. The Black Party is sold out. But there are some other ticketed events that you will still have access to. Our Sojourner Truth Legacy event, which the Black women of the Congressional Black Caucus, this is their project where they honor and uphold Black women and the achievements of Black women. There are still some opportunities there. So please look. But even if you can't access some of those ticketed events, there is so much that is non-ticketed, that is free, because again, we want to make sure that this is going to be a valuable and enriching experience for everyone.
Well, a selfless pitch. I have to say again, make sure you pick up a copy of the Washington Informer so you can get the special Congressional Black Caucus Foundation LC edition. Most of the agenda items are in here. Of course, not all, but they're all here. And so you can kind of pick and choose and see what you might want to come down to participate in. We want to thank you for also being allowing us to do this for the CBCF again this year. So, Nicole, we run out of time. Anything you want to add in closing? Oops.
Yes, I want to let everyone know to please not only go to our website, but there is also, when you go to our website, there is an app you can download. As you just heard Denise say, what's in print there's lots of information there, but things that are ever changing and ever evolving and that are updated, you're going to be able to keep up to date on those by downloading our app. So go to the App Store, put in CBCF ALC, and you'll be able to get that information as well. And again, please join us. Even if you can only join us for a day, for a couple hours. This is an historical moment for our community for so many reasons, for the ways in which we need to come together to support and move our community forward, for the historical opportunities that are available in terms of elected leaders, and also because of the attacks that we're under, where our rights are being questioned. And we as a community need to come together to collectively be empowered and to work to move our country forward, not just for us, but for the entire nation. Because the Black community is the backbone of this nation, and we are part of this democracy. And the promises that were made at the founding of this country are our promises to take and to utilize. And so please come and be a part of this history and be a part of empowering the Black community.
Nicole Austin-Hillery, thank you so very much for being with us and sharing and providing this invitation as the president and CEO of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, this invitation to all of us to come there next week. I'll be there. I'm going to be looking folks to drop by the booth and say, you know, Nicole said, come, I'm here. So
wonderful, wonderful.
all right.
Thank you,
Have
Denise,
a good one.
for
All
having us.
righty.